had been receiving salaries for several years, costing the state over 394 million francs yearly per month. And as the Anglophone crisis deepens further, administrative authorities in the Momo division of the crisis-hit northwest region of Cameroun are stepping up security measures in order to ensure the security and safety of persons and properties within that administrative unit. Stay with us. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinoxe television. One person has died and several others have been injured in a road accident that occurred earlier today on National Highway number 3, linking the country's two major cities, the nation's political capital Yaoundé and the economic capital Douala. The accident occurred earlier today after the toll gate in Mbankomo on the Douala-Yaoundé highway. We shall be bringing to you greater details in a subsequent news editions. And back here in the economic capital Douala, another accident left several persons injured at Entrée B in the Douala 3 subdivision. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
A ghastly road accident occurred at the Entrée B neighborhood in Douala. A private car knocked down several persons standing along the roadside, with some of them sustaining severe and minor injuries. The car was said to have lost control on the victims, who are mostly bike riders. An eyewitness say the driver was riding on high speed and later on dashed on a group of persons and trucks that were along the road. The angry mob proceeded after the accident to throw rocks at the starlet vehicle, vandalize the car with logs of wood, and later on inflicting repeated punches on the helpless driver. He was later on saved from jungle justice by the forces of law and order. The injured persons were later on transported to a nearby hospital where they are currently receiving treatment. The driver's starlet was finally carried along by the police.
And as the Anglophone crisis deepens further in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroun, administrative authorities are stepping up efforts to ensure the security and safety of persons living within those two parts of the Republic of Cameroun, the Anglophone parts of the country. And recently, or today, officials in the Momo division held a meeting to step up security measures in that administrative unit of the northwest region. And Stella Mbu, a correspondent in the northwest, attended that meeting. Her report.
Friday, December 21st, 2018, vehicles leaving from Bangui are stuck at the park in Bamenda. About 30 minutes later, transporters received news that the road is passable. In the early hours of that Friday, a young man is reported to have been taken out of a passenger's car and killed, purportedly by pro-independence fighters. This and more are the happenings recorded in parts of Momo division as the Anglophone crisis deepens. In a bid to strengthen security due to the armed conflict, the senior divisional officer for Momo, Absolute Mononabunowa, recently chaired an administrative coordination and security meeting in Bangui, divisional headquarters for Momo division. The meeting, which was boycotted by religious leaders, funds and civil society activists, was aimed at putting forth feasible measures to safeguard peace and stability as the end of year feast draws near. The SDO adds that the meeting is to put in place modalities for the effective implementation of the head of state's vision of disarming what is termed misguided youths who have taken up arms against the fatherland in the northwest and southwest regions and ex-fighters of Boko Haram, while making reference to the newly created Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee. The SDO calls on parents to talk the children out of the bushes.
Most of those who are concerned by this important decision of the head of state are brothers and sisters. They are our children who live within our communities. And so it should be us who should play the pivotal role. It's not only bringing them back home and calling on them to put down their weapons, but he has put in place institutions that are going to take care of these young men and women, reintegrate them back into the society, and giving them a source of livelihood.
As the crisis deepens, many families have continued to be affected. Some are forced to leave their homes, while many children are made orphans. It is therefore the wish of many that the crisis is speedily resolved so life can return to normalcy.
And in the southwest region of the country, internally displaced persons or persons displaced by the Anglophone crisis from Mbonge subdivision have been reassured that government is doing everything possible to restore peace in their village. Tundong Chamberlain, senior division officer of the Meme division, made this information public to the internally displaced persons while handing over some humanitarian aid from government within the context of government's 12 billion francs CFA humanitarian aid to persons displaced by the Anglophone crisis. Manjikan Gabriel reports.
Bags of cement and planks, mattresses, and buckets filled with detergent were some of the items given to the internally displaced persons from Bongé by the senior divisional officer of Meme.
To be sure that those who are going to have something today, all of them are from Bongé. That is why I call for the mayor of Bongé, who is your brother, your father, and is the man who can testify that those who are receiving things today, all of them are from Mbonge subdivision. The Lord Mayor, if you see somebody who is not concerned, let me know. I'm going to withdraw his name.
The distribution that took place at the SDO's office fell under the humanitarian aid given to victims of the ongoing Anglophone crisis.
I am just here to relay his higher instruction. He said that he's going to do his best to be sure that all of you, let me say each of you, has where to stay.
The exercise, which has gone round to other internally displaced persons of villages found under Meme division, was at the level of those who come from Bongé subdivision.
And in the report coming up next, Sumanji Kangebre takes a look at how the thousands of persons who have been displaced by the Anglophone crisis are living in the Mongo division of the littoral region of the country. And he tells us that the inhabitants of the parts of the Mongo division where the IDPs are found, as well as authorities, are doing everything possible to ensure that their living conditions are improved by the day. Yet many of them are living in precarious conditions. Smanji Kangebre.
Displaced persons as a result of the Anglophone crisis are found in localities like Lum, Penja, Melong and Manjo, all under the Mongo division of Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. To make ends meet, they have decided to engage in certain activities like in the commercial motorcycle sector. Selling roasted meat or chicken along the roads, work in farms or sell in the markets. No matter where these displaced persons are found, they have been given an enabling environment for them to live. There is congestion in the commercial motorcycle sector due to the crisis because most of those who have entered in the business are Anglophones. In the morning, we meet with many of them in search of work to do.
Bon, je veux le travail, I need work. On ne peut rien. Tu vas les supporter comme ça.
Most of those displaced say they were received only in the localities they found themselves.
Nous sommes très bien et nous vivons très bien parce que La population nous accueille comme les frères et nous vivons aussi sans crainte.
Meanwhile, others say the change of location as a result of the crisis hasn't impacted negatively enough on their lives.
The time we will come for here, people when they don't receive we fine. Then after we come go work job chapia and they give us more money. Then we take we can manage family with them. Begin the chop.
The second deputy mayor of Manjo, Nkono Martin, says, we've received a good number of the internally displaced persons. We are not the only one, but the entire Mongo division. They are welcomed and will continue to cohabit with them. It is a sign of living together.
Dans le Mongo, entre les Camerounais d'origine diverse ne date pas d'aujourd'hui, particulièrement à Manjo.
The cry of the displaced is for the crisis to come to an end.
I told you in the headlines, the Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Cameroun has fished out of the state payroll close to 700 names of persons who had died long ago but have been miraculously receiving salaries costing the said 394 million francs CFA per month. And this is an operation launched by the Minister of Finance Louis-Paul Moutaze to cleanse the state payroll of ghost workers. Innocent as a report.
Finance Minister Louis-Paul Moutaze says efficient strategies have been put in place to hunt down all ghost civil servants and state agents receiving monthly salary during the second phase of the cash physical counting. Results obtained after the first phase of the operation reveals that out of 310,786 state agents cited, 285,092 of them were successfully counted, while 4,621 of the civil servants and state agents counted saw their files invalidated for different reasons. 20,428 state agents did not show up for the headcount exercise, and 645 had been declared dead by banking institutions and immediately suspended from the state payroll. The operation also led to the suspension of salaries of 2,732 pensionaries and traditional rulers who are dead. Finance Minister indicates that the second phase of the cash register physical counting of Cameroonian civil servants and state agents, which began on October 24th, 2018 to run extremely effective to January 4th, 2019, will have special focus on those who failed to present themselves during the first phase of the head count. He noted that the second phase, which ends few days from now, will allow for the ghost workers and those with invalid documents to pass by the ministry and justify their situation before benefiting their pay right. This as the minister highlighted that payment of the ghost workers deprives the state's economy of at least 394.7 million francs CFA monthly and 4.7 billion francs CFA per year.
Critics have qualified the economy of the Republic of Cameroun as limping, plagued by issues such as poverty and of course chronic hardship and growing unemployment, especially among young people. However, the Minister of Finance and Communication, Louis-Paul Moutaze and Issa Chiruma Bakare, respectively, have qualified the economic and financial situation of President Paul Biya's country as satisfactory. They granted a press conference in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Innocent reports.
Cameroon's economic and financial situation at the moment is satisfactory, according to Minister Issa Chiruma Bakare of Communication and his colleague Louis-Paul Moutaze of Finance. Their appraisal came out of a joint press conference in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Issa Chiruma Bakare said multiple efforts employed by the government of Cameroon have resulted in the reduction of the state's budget deficit from 6.5% in 2016 to 4.5% in 2017, while that of 2018 is projected at 2.6%. He also outlined the validation of Cameroon's third economic review by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, which, according to him, assures that funds will soon be disbursed in Yaoundé. Minister Louis-Paul Motazier, on his part, stated that the withdrawal of the 2019 AFCON hosting right from Cameroon by CAF will have no major effect on the country's economy. Conscious of Cameroon's state of indebtedness, the finance minister assured that the country is capable of sustaining its debts, especially considering the fact that the money has been spent on what he terms sustainable projects. He equally revealed that 25 ghost workers have been identified in a process to lease public service workers. The Minister of Finance then launched a clarion call for those concerned to get themselves duly registered latest February 2019 before their accounts are suspended.
Out of Cameroon, protesters angry with the postponement of Sunday's presidential election in parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo have attacked a clinic that is where some possible Ebola cases are being examined, and the attack occurred in the eastern city of Beni, one of the three strongholds of the opposition where vote has been postponed. The Electoral Commission has cited the current Ebola outbreak as one of the reasons behind the postponement, but opposition parties have accused the authorities of seeking to rig the vote. After 17 years in power, President Joseph Kabila is standing down, and campaigning has been marred by widespread violence. There have also been concerns over the conduct of the poll, which has been delayed because of logistical and security problems. And in Madagascar, the country's electoral commission has said former President Andry Rajoelina has won the presidential election runoff. He obtained nearly 56% of the votes to defeat another former President, Marc Ravalomanana. Both candidates had previously promised to accept the results. However, Marc Ravalomanana, who was ousted by Rajoelina in a coup almost 10 years ago, has made allegations of what he calls massive fraud. Marc Ravalomanana did not attend the proclamation of results by the Electoral Commission amid high security in the capital, Antananarivo. The Constitutional Court has 9 days to decide whether to confirm the Commission's results or not. And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in Talking Points. We are receiving John DANGLE KUMAZE. He is the National Organizing Secretary of the opposition political party, the Social Democratic Front in the Republic of Cameroon. He is the former mayor of the Douala 4 subdivision. John DANGLE KUMAZE, you're welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good evening, televiewers. And good evening to all the members of the SDF and the general public, supporters and sympathizers.
Close to 700 names fished out of the payroll, the state payroll, names of persons who had died long ago but have been receiving salaries costing the state over 394 million francs CFA per month. How can we explain this?
I think this is not news to any Cameroonian, knowing the system in which we find ourselves. 700 dead workers. You call them ghost workers, I call them dead workers. And I think it's no news because the system itself is dead. I think this is a distraction. When we are talking about thousands of billions that have been embezzled and in the projects that were earmarked for the African Nations Cup 2019, And then the minister comes up with 700 people, dead people, and talking about 394 million. What is that compared to the thousands of billions that had been embezzled? So
the question many Cameroonians will be asking, for several years, salaries have been paid to these names, and there was nobody to fish these names out as ghost workers until Louis-Paul Motaze came to the helm of the Ministry of Finance.
I say it's a failed system. Louis-Paul Motaze is part and parcel of the system. Every minister comes up and tries to play his own music, his own theater, and wants to attract the attention of the Cameroonian people. I am saying that discovering 700
is it a laudable initiative?
I don't think that I don't see anybody who will clap for that. The system has failed, and you cannot find a system where entering the public service, you complete a dossier, and while you are working, you have a file. When you are not more working, the department where you were supposed to be working has to report that this person has died. And if that department cannot report, it means that there is no follow-up, there is no control. That is why I'm saying that.
And another question is, for several years, these salaries have been paid to these persons, over 394 million francs CFA per month. Where has the money been going to? What has been happening?
Well, that is what I'm saying, that it does not tickle anybody. That is the system. The money has been going to where thousands of billions have been going to. I am saying that when you are entering the public service, you compile your documents, and while you are working, you are posted to a certain department. That department has to report that this person is not more working. He is either not coming to work, or he has died. And if for several years somebody had died and he is still receiving his salary, then there is somebody in the system who is receiving that salary, and therefore it's not only important announcing it, it is important to see who are those who have been receiving these salaries, and then the time we will know that you have done something is when these people are followed up.
And this is a big blow to the economy of the country at large.
Well, I think no matter how little it has an effect over the economy of the country. But the thing is that to stop it, you have to investigate, you have to punish those who have been receiving these salaries, and to actually set an example. If you cannot do that, only come to announce in front of television cameras and the press that this is what you have discovered. Let him tell us what he has already envisaged as measures to stop that not to happen again. No. It is only when he would have told us that the culprits have been got, they have been investigated, sent to court, they are sentenced, they are asked to pay back this money, then we will know that he has given some news to Cameroon. Announcing it is no news.
Now, the economy, when you look at the economy of the country today, with issues like increasing external debt, internal debt increasing, chronic poverty, many Cameroonians living under the poverty line, below the poverty line, rising unemployment, especially among young people, and the ministers of finance and communication say the economic and the financial situation of the country is satisfactory. What do you say about that?
What I think I can say is that this government, they are not living in this country, except that many of the Cameroonians who are going through, who are suffering this economic malaise, are not as intelligent as they are. But I think that what they are saying is a cover-up. We cannot be at the threshold of the worst that is to come in 2019. Many of the economic operators who had taken loans from banks and put in the projects anticipating to receive the African Nations Cup are not sleeping again, because the withdrawal of this African Nations Cup is going to bring untold economic hardship to the economic operators in Cameroon, and by extension to the population, and there's going to, I'm telling you, there's going to be terrible poverty as we're anticipating in 2019. The impact will be untold. History will take it down that, as I even heard a commentator of CRTV describing the withdrawal of the African Nations Cup as the worst scandal since independence. That has never been said by a CRTV journalist. And if a CRTV journalist says that, it means therefore that the scandal was indescribable, and the economic impact starting from next year, starting from a few days from now, from January 2019, the Cameroonian people will undergo terrible economic hardship. Let the Minister of Communication, who has become uncontrollable, and even the Minister of Finance, let them not distract the people. You cannot tell the people that there will be no economic hardship when people had been expecting an economic boom, if not just for that 1 year, 2019, during the African Nations Cup, when it is withdrawn and everybody has been downcast. Everybody, including those who were not even expecting to sell anything, everybody was expecting to gain. Even those who were not doing anything, they were to gain, because when there's an economic boom, there is life. Just participating in that football match, in those football matches, would have given some anxiety, some expectancy to the Cameroonian people. But withdrawing it, and people come and sit and tell you, why are they coming up with this press conference today? It's because they know that the Cameroonian people are feeling that disaster has befallen them. So they're trying to distract the population by saying that the economy is doing well. How can the economy is doing well when thousands of billions have been siphoned, have been embezzled? Nobody knows. And they're talking, the commander, the captain in the ship has remained quiet and has not said anything. It is his ministers who are coming up with destructive statements.
All right, let's talk about the Anglophone crisis now. What's your take on what is happening now in some parts of the West region and even the littoral region? In the littoral region, for example, there has been no attack up till now linked to the Anglophone crisis, but there are thousands of persons who continue streaming into the parts of the Mungo division, in particular from the southwest region. And in the west region of the country now, there are attacks that are being linked to the Anglophone crisis. The recent one was in Banguren, where some persons were abducted, one person was killed, close to 100 houses set ablaze.
Mr. Babla Jonathan, I am still to believe that what happened in Banguren is an attack by the Amber Boys. You can see the immediate reaction of the Minister of Territorial Administration. It's as if they had anticipated or they had prepared for what happened in Banguran, because 2 days after, you find the minister going there with tons and tons of material as assistance to those who have suffered. Do we have two souls in a human being? They have burned places in the southwest, burned hundreds of villages in the southwest and northwest.
But the attackers, but the attackers are said to have come from neighboring Bangulan in the northwest region of the country into Banguren. The inhabitants say that the attackers came from Bangulan.
It's not enough for inhabitants of Banguren to say that the attackers came from Bangulan in the northwest region. But what is going to be important is the investigation that has to be carried out. You cannot immediately just hear declarations that they came from the Northwest region and you jump to conclude that they came really from the Northwest region. When did the investigations take place? Before the minister decided to go there to calm them down. I was trying to talk about the souls of man. Are there two souls in this country? People have gone the same treatment, undergone the same treatment in the Northwest and Southwest region. The minister has never rushed there with the speed with which he went to Bangura. Is there something that we can think behind our head? That something was prepared? To me, I think what is happening...
Yes, what was prepared by who?
Well, by those who are acting as if they knew that something will happen. I am saying that we cannot immediately, without any investigations, claim that they came from the Bangulan population. There should be some investigation with proof to show that this is what happened. If not, let those who want to distract what the international community is calling them to do. They are calling on this government to initiate an inclusive dialogue. They are not doing it. They are instead trying to distract, to take the heat that is falling on them in the Northwest and Southwest to the West region. I don't know whether they know the consequences of what they are trying to do. I don't know whether that is what they think that they should do. Why couldn't they rush to help those who were displaced in the Northwest and Southwest with that very speed? Why should they rush to this one? They shall explain to us why this one.
It looks like the crisis extending, because this is the way government looks at it, the crisis extending from the Northwest and the Southwest into other parts of the country, and that's why the reaction probably.
Well, why is it extending? It's because they have decided not to listen to the voices of the Cameroonian people, to the international community, from the United Nations to the AU, to everybody has asked that the government, the head of state, should call an inclusive dialogue. They have remained adamant, and I am saying that, in my personal opinion, I have not discussed it with anybody, as a person who foresees this is a distraction to take away the heat that is on them in the Northwest and Southwest, to distract the people in Bangura.
John DANGLE KUMAZE, National Organizing Secretary of the Social Democratic Front and former mayor of the Douala 4 municipality. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having invited me.
Ladies and gentlemen, for this edition of the news. Thanks for staying with us. Goodbye.